Gear up as Cash Miller and a team of accomplished guests steer you on an enlightening voyage filled with valuable tips, fresh insights, and effective strategies. Welcome to Marketing Masters, the Agency Power Show.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cash Miller. I'm the host of Marketing Masters, CEO of Titan Digital. And today I've got with me Erick Jackson of Element 47. We're going to be talking about how AI can be incorporated into crafting your marketing strategies and such, because there is a role for it to play, and of course, AI has been making, depending on what you do, life a lot easier and such. So we're going to be talking about that today. Erick, it's great to have you on. Tell us a little bit about, yourself and your agency.
Yeah, Cash, thanks for having me on. One of the favorite parts of being in this business is I get to meet lots of other interesting entrepreneurs in marketing, so I really do appreciate this conversation. Our agency, we started out in the website development world and did that for a number of years and did that only. I started back in the day when you still had to explain to somebody why they might need a website.
Me too.
that ended at some point. I don't have an exact date of when, but then everybody became concerned about, okay, now that I've got this asset, what do I do to market it? So we morphed into an agency. And, really for us, the first conversation I tend to have with clients is, we're strategy first. And I know a couple of things about you as a prospect without really asking you any questions. And the first thing is you have expectations of what this relationship is going to be. Mm-hmm. So it's my job to pull that out of you. And that's where strategy starts. They've got expectations. They have needs. They're not just spending money. They're not writing checks to me just for the heck of it, just because I'm, smart or beautiful or whatever you want to say. It's not true, but that is our number one goal, and I'm sure that's what you guys do as well. You got to have, all right, how do we win? How do we know that we've arrived at where we want to be? And there are times where we work with companies that have expectations that just can't be met. And so we want to determine what that is early so that we have the best possible chance of having success. We've been really successful, of course, with website development, which is where we started out with turning business away, understanding what that strategic initiative or what that end game looks like. So we want to make sure that we work with only those folks that we can actually help. Do a lot of B2B work. Been really strong in that. In our business, a lot of what we do is, I'm speaking specifically for Element 47, relationships. We get referred a lot. And so there's a large portion of the business world that's the same. And so we make sure that the clients that we work with in that space, that their brand is consistent from beginning to end. So if you get referred to me, first thing you're going to do is probably go look up our website and read about us and see, is this what you're actually looking for? And I think a lot of folks don't know how many opportunities they're missing because their brand and what they're saying on their website doesn't really answer the questions in the person's mind. Yeah. Which reminds me of one of my favorite books, They Ask You Answer. I don't know if you've read this book.
I haven't. I've heard of it. I haven't.
It's just really great. It's, the thing that speaks to me about it is if you're going to somebody's website and you've got a question in mind, you want that question answered. You want to know what they do. You want them to speak to, what they do and how they do it. And if that aligns, then, you've got a much better chance of doing business with somebody. So we help a lot of businesses that are, relationship-based selling. And that doesn't mean that we're not doing the usual digital marketing stuff. There's social media. There's usually a lot of content development in the form of blogs and video and other content. And then there's other areas where we excel. We're doing a lot of Google Ads work. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about the efficacy of Google Ads. As you know, it's a really fast way to blow a lot of money and show zero result.
Yeah.
because there's a lot of moving parts. It's not something that the average human without a lot of expertise can go in and be successful out of the gate. And as you know, there are a lot of agencies out there that don't really know what they're doing with it. And so we've gotten really good at predicting what the success looks like based on the analytics, based on what search volume looks like. And of course, the topic today being AI, there's a lot of data that AI is able to provide us. And a lot of the stuff that you had to do manually with Google Ads is doing some of that work for you now.
Yeah.
They're taking headlines and body copy and changing it up and predicting what's going to work the best and taking a lot of the guesswork out. In some cases, practitioners will say, "Well, I like to have that control," but at the same time, the machines are pretty quick at picking up on trends, and can take a lot of that work out. So we do a lot of visual branding work too. Figuring out what a brand should be, how it should be presented, and got a great little team of pros, and just we're loving what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that as marketers, I think business owners don't understand. Like, we have to deal typically with a lot of different types of businesses, but it's one of the things that makes the job enjoyable because you learn about so many businesses and how they function and stuff. Because if you're putting together strategy, you do have to have a certain understanding of what it is that they do, where they make their money, what's going to work best for them, like I say, what's got the highest margins and whatnot. So you got to understand for them what success is going to look like if you're going to be able to help them achieve it. And so that's, it's one of the things I've always enjoyed, especially when I get to tour facilities or something, because we've worked with like a lot of manufacturers and stuff over the years. And it's like, what do they look like? What are they doing? It's things we don't, do on a day-to-day basis, but it doesn't mean it's like not super interesting.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you can't understand it pretty quickly either.
Yeah.
And I get asked all the time, have you ever worked with somebody in our industry before? It's like, no, but you're not that special. I hate to tell you. I mean, there's only so many ways to skin a cat. And, if we've worked in a lot of different industries, and at the end of the day, it's what is this, again, going back to what is your goal? How can we get your message in front of the right people, and how can we get them to act in some way, shape, or form? It's not rocket science. And in those organizations that are one track, I'm only going to serve dentists. Well, guess what? Dentist number 1,547, you're going to get the same stuff that the last guy got. Yep. It's not going to be differentiated in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be a template, and nothing wrong with templates. We use templates.
It's a proven formula, but it's not going to be that. It's not going to be different than anybody else's because we know it works and such. But from an owner, like an agency owner standpoint, like I understand, niching down and all of this, but boy, it can be, it gets a little dull. So
I'm a lot like you in that regard. I don't want to do the same thing over and over again for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I like things to get mixed up every now and then and have new challenges. And that's what I think that's one of the reasons why I got in this business. People have asked that. It's like every day's different.
Yeah. Yeah, it really can be. You're running your own business, but at the same time, you're helping other people figure out problems in their businesses. Like I say, they need to increase sales or whatever they need to, brand awareness, whatever it might be. So different strategies will apply, and you got to figure out. And you're taking from an extensive, knowledge base of experience that you have, then that grows over time, and then being able to apply it. Because like I say, I've never worked with that particular industry, but it doesn't mean you're special because I can tell you half a dozen other industries that I've worked with that are basically the same thing, so it's,
Let's be honest. I mean, we're actually business consultants, and it's not just marketing that we're doing here. We have to take a lot of other things into account, and we've seen a lot, and that's an advantage just because we're not, going down that same rut every day doesn't mean that we're at a disadvantage. It's actually a tactical advantage.
Yeah. 100%. Well, you can draw on that experience and then see what would work, potentially for them that they can't see because they're so lost in their own business, essentially. So you get an outside view, and that's, the consulting is a fair example for that. So let's get into the strategy side, though, and, how AI is actually making a difference with it. It's, like I say, everybody knows, AI is all over the place. ChatGPT, Bard started, Google's using Bard and rolling it out in their search results now, giving you the option of seeing what it would look like and such. And then there's a number of other AI related tools, of course, that have come out. But how is it reshaping traditional marketing now? Because now we've had it long enough to see what the effect is actually, because we're not that far away from what the 1 year mark since ChatGPT was introduced.
The number one thing that I see, and I use this example to explain to people what AI is. We use it for ideas primarily. So, for example, if a year ago, pre-ChatGPT, someone asked me, "Hey, give me what your overall strategy would be for a candle company. I've got a candle burning over here." And I would go probably to Google and learn about as much as I can about candle companies. I would go look at their websites. I would go explore blogs. I would do maybe some demographic research on people who buy candles. There's all sorts of places that I would have to go and learn and really immerse myself, which could take days to really do a good job of this. Or today I could go to ChatGPT and with the right prompt, I can get fed all of this information and get the big picture ideas and go, oh, that's an idea that I understand what that means. I'm going to go look at soy candles in the market, or whatever. It's anything that comes back to you in a ChatGPT response, which you can also regenerate by just clicking one button and get it to rewrite and do it in a number of different ways. It just accelerates the ability to come up with new ideas and discover things that you don't know about a particular industry. Granted, there may be times where it's not 100% accurate, but I mean, the data that I'm getting back is absolutely transformational. It speeds up the process. And it's probably a good time to mention, the other thing that people, I think, worry about with ChatGPT is, well, ChatGPT is going to replace jobs. No. ChatGPT, what's going to replace jobs is people using AI.
Yeah.
If all things being equal, if I'm not using AI and you're going to be more effective. You're going to be better, faster.
Yeah.
It's going to be better. And so you're going to get more business. You're going to be able to do things in a better, faster way and be more successful because it's basically accelerated the search engine.
Yeah.
It's become something that's it's generative AI. You're able to go out there and learn and grow and do things faster than someone who's not.
Yeah, that's what I've been stressing with people is in a sense, it will replace jobs, but it's not replacing them like you would think. It's making it so you don't need as many positions in a particular job. So you don't need as many writers because you've made the writers more efficient, or the strategists, or whatever it is. Researchers, for example, because to what you're giving is speaking to, because like if I'm doing the strategy and all the time I would spend searching different websites, looking up different content and stuff, trying to before I've even formulated a strategy, I had to research the industry. But now, so I might have a small team, depending on the type of business, doing exactly that. Now I don't need half a dozen people. I need 3 of them because they're all going to do it this way and they're going to get fed the information back faster. So I don't need as many. It doesn't replace a position. It replaces how many people in a business I might have doing that job.
Right.
But if you're the one that's using it, you're going to be the one that's kept, because it's going to be like if you're really proficient, and it will create other jobs. That's the thing. It will, there will be new jobs that are, potentially needed because of what you can do with it. I think of prompt engineers now as becoming a thing that are people that are really good at writing the prompts and can understand how to ask it the right questions. They could be nothing but freelancers, but you might go to that prompt engineer and say, look, this is my type of business. I need these types of commands. Can you do this for me? And they would do that. And then they might move on to the next business. There's all sorts of things that end up happening, whenever any kind of an industry is transformed. I say most of the chat stuff, is AI is a time saver. It's this great assistant. That's what it does. It makes everybody more efficient. And actually, honestly, a lot of the efficiency comes from the things you don't want to do anyway.
Yeah. The example that I've shared recently, in the 1990s, I was in the what they call the color separation business. It was pre-press. So it was that stage between the design process and when something went on the printing press. So I was fortunate to be on the forefront of when the Macintosh began to take over the what used to be done on a light table and in a dark room. And so I was able to build a business around that. Well, what we didn't see coming was something called direct to plate. So instead of having to create film, you would go digital straight to the printing plate. Yeah. And we were basically being phased out. And so back when we were doing everything on the Mac and creating film, I worked with a Pearl Drum, Pearl Drum Company. They have been making drums for decades. We would have to create these composite images every now and then that if you did it on a light table would take probably a couple of weeks because it was really intricate and it had to look perfect. We could do it with the old version of Photoshop that didn't even have layers. We could do it in a couple of days. And now with the version of Photoshop that you have, you can do it in a couple of hours. Nobody wants to work on that stuff for 2 weeks. Yeah, right. Something may or may not be right. So it's the same thing. It's just, that we've got different tools. It's like going from a hammer to a nail gun. Yeah. You still have to have a human. You still have to have somebody who can put the nail in right and be creative. That I don't think you're ever going to completely get rid of. Knock on wood. Yeah. But yeah, it's just it's a tool, and we've had some pushback internally. And I've had to convince some people and tell the same story. It's like, hey, this is what I experienced in the 90s. It's the same thing going on. It's if you're not willing to embrace this change, then you better find another line of work, maybe a farmer or something else. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I believe there are some real places for it. So, for example, we were at a meeting one day looking at a website that somebody else had built. It was something we were looking for inspiration. And there was this puff of smoke in the air. It looked like powder. It looked like LeBron James had clapped his hands and the dust goes up in the air. And it was obvious. Well, to me, it looked like it had been shot in a studio. And so you've got a professional photographer with all this equipment, and they've thrown this dust up into the air, and they've had to get the lighting exactly right and take 5 pictures of it, and hopefully something works out. Or you could just go to Midjourney. Yeah. And does that one image mean that much? I mean, no. That's the perfect example of using AI to create images. And you can get way better than that. I mean, my mind is by some of the stuff I've been able to create in Midjourney. Well, just a little party trick is I'll be in a networking event or a mastermind group and tell them, hey, give me describe a picture that you want me to create. And 3 minutes later, you've got 4 different versions of something that blows your mind. Yeah, I think that's one of the things, like, from a marketing perspective and a strategy standpoint and stuff is, using AI, some of it's about doing things, quicker and whatnot. We do the same kinds of things. If you're talking, like campaigns you might be running or messaging or things like that, it's, you're using it to generate more ideas quicker. We use it in, for the design side. I always like to give the example, because we use Midjourney too. And I give the example. I said, look, it's not meant to design your website, but think of the icons that you might want to use on that site that you want to make custom and stuff. And you would take how many hours to create icons, or you're going to spend the time researching icons, and pulling them from some library. You want to be able to incorporate them into the design. That's fine. Have it design your icons.
It's an assistant. You're not asking it to do the whole page, but you can get that refined, and you can end up doing it a lot quicker and give you the ideas that you want to incorporate. So it's stuff like that you can use it for.
Yeah, and back to the idea generation part, it lets you see things that you would never have otherwise seen, and you essentially spoke them into existence by talking to a machine that pulled it out of there. Just it's magic.
Well, and if you think about it, like say along the lines of strategy or concepts you're trying to come up with and stuff, we do a lot of branding and logo design and stuff. Well, we don't have it design the logos. We do in a sense. We'll have it do it from the idea standpoint, because one of the things that's really hard when you work with someone, on any kind of a logo, a lot of times they don't know what they want, and they can't really decide. So what you can do is use AI. You can have it generate ideas so that you can show them a bunch of possibilities, and then let them say, oh, I love this direction. Okay. I'm not even going to use that particular one, but I have a better idea of what you're looking for so that I can cut down on the time I'm taking to actually, because I'm still going to do the design like I normally would have, but I'm not going from scratch. Now I can make my concepts along that line of thinking, and I was able to do that and generate that really quick. It's the same thing as if I had literally gone on a site with a ton of logo examples so I can, understand which one do you like, which direction you want, when you're doing it, because, no matter how much you tell them, like this is about your customer, this is, what's going to appeal to them. They still are, what do I like?
Right.
So
it's got to appeal to them in some level.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've never heard the phrase, I'll know it when I see it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, here, let me show you a bunch of ideas. And I'm not.
Let's look through a book of mugshots and see if we can find the suspect.
And that's the idea with AI, is because there's so many things that kind of go into like marketing strategies or elements of campaigns and stuff, things that you're doing. The idea that you can use it to, generate you can generate concepts, you can come up with headlines, you can do a number of things a lot faster and be able to see what your options would be, whether it's just ideas, or like say visual elements or whatever it is that you need.
Yeah. We can use it for persona development.
Yes.
Let's say you've got a client that's got 3 or 4 different types of clients. You can flesh out who those people are and what they look like and what their needs are and where to find them. What do they do for hobbies? It's just endless to do with it.
Yeah. Something I talked with someone about recently is that, if you're running Google ads and stuff, so let's say you start with ads that are, I'm targeting the entire country. Okay. But then you notice that you seem to get your leads from a particular area or whatnot, say it's a large city, but you're seeing the people come in. You can actually help it analyze, use it to help you analyze why, what is the actual demographic that it's hitting on. Then you can start shutting stuff off and then, duplicating the demographic and saying, okay, instead of the whole country, I want to target certain cities. So which cities have this demographic?
Right.
And then you target those cities because it has the same traits of the one that you're already targeting that's successful. So it's using it to figure out other, locations in this case, that you might target that are going to be able to emulate, something that's already working. So analyzing that data and saying, okay, do that, here we go. These are, you should be going here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just such a great tool. And of course it also takes money out of my pocket. I mean, just me going on Instagram. I was talking to somebody, today about, purchasing things on Instagram, and an hour later I actually bought a t-shirt off of Instagram that was just, they, obviously they know what I like. They can see what accounts I follow, and merchants are able to position items in front of me that I've bought all kinds of stuff that is just I never would have found, never would have known about before. And so every time somebody tells me, I'm a little freaked out, I think they're listening. No, they could be, but I mean, they are analyzing every move that you make. That may freak you out, but at the same time, let me encourage you to go watch the 5 o'clock news and see what the ads like are there. If you are between the ages of 65 and 85, it will probably resonate with you because it's all medicines and all these these ailments that these medicines can fix. With social media and other platforms, you're being served the things that are most likely the things that you need in your life. And if that freaks you out, I get it, but the bottom line is I would rather have that than Metamucil ads. They've solved problems too, but they're not my problems. And that's what merchants want. We want to be able to solve problems for people. That's what companies are essentially started to do. And AI and all the tools with it it just accelerates that connection.
Yeah, Google's always had, like I said, they've been incorporating Bard into their into the results and such. And Google's mission has always been to provide the most relevant information and the best user experience that it can. And so they're being careful about how they test this, but because we do know that some of the information that's been presented by AI sometimes is a little bit skewered and off and stuff. And it's like, so you're going to continue to see these kinds of things. But the beauty is you do get a lot of like additional insight into stuff. You have to think of it. I guess part of it is like, you have to think much broader about what it can do. Everybody like say, if you ask them, it's like, why does it exist? Chat GPT, and they'll say, well, it's a language learning model, and it can do these certain things. And what we're finding is that we can do all sorts of other things with it that it's capable of doing, but nobody's really advertising about
it. Yeah, 100%. So I'm in a group that meets every Monday morning, and we talk about AI. And these are people that are outside the marketing industry, and it just amazes me the innovation that's coming around. A lot of it based on Chat GPT or other large language models, and it's scary and fun all at the same time. Just really hard to keep up with, but at the same time, it's just, for somebody that likes a lot of distraction and likes to learn new things, this is a great time to be alive.
It really is interesting. And so, you can use this, if you're trying to develop marketing strategies or even other kinds of planning for that matter. There's a lot of uses for it. You've got to be willing to experiment with it, ask it things, see if it can do stuff. We've written a number of, prompts and stuff that can help us pull data, for different things, whether it be for sales reps, that are, talking with prospective, clients and whatnot, or, for other staff internally based on what they're doing. You want to be, looking at it that way. How can it help me do my job better? If you are a business owner, there are, a number of things you can do, from a research standpoint to see, if there's other opportunities. Like I say, from it's not going to write your marketing strategy. I mean, technically it can, but if you're putting the plan together, it can help you on a number of fronts to be able to formulate the strategy.
Yes, absolutely. And, in sales, you want to be able to speak the other person's language. You want to meet them where they are and be able to explain things in their language. And Chat GPT can help you do that too. Some folks may see that as not genuine, but I see it as, hey, I'm meeting somebody where they are and explaining it to them in a way that they understand, and trying to get them the most information I possibly can, and so they can make good decisions and feel comfortable.
Yeah, I was recently given the example that you can have. So, say for example, you're running Google Ads, but you're running to a certain, it's a certain demographic. It could be a certain area of the country or whatnot, and you know how you kind of develop lingo and just ways of saying things. You can ask it, to write you headlines for your Google Ads that would speak to that area, though. So I want to say this is here's what but do it. And so if you've got specific words, it can incorporate those as substitutes for what you might say, so that it's more familiar for people in that area doing searches and stuff, and they're more likely to click on those ads because you use those kinds of words and stuff that speak to the region.
Mm-hmm. And same goes for particular industries. You want to make sure that you're using the right nomenclature when you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And not sound out of place.
Yeah, and that's really the beauty, because if you're a business and say you send things all over the place, maybe you're an e-commerce company, or I say you ship for whatever reason, you're able to make those kinds of adjustments to your campaigns, the way you're speaking, and you wouldn't otherwise know what these adjustments should even be. But if you know to ask the question, then it will tell you the changes you should make to your campaigns, that are language-based. I say that's the original intention anyway, is a language learning model. So it can make that kind of a change for you. Say, hey, you want to say it this way over here, and over here, say the same thing, but you, change these words here, and stuff. So like I say, when it comes down to your strategy, if you think about the little nuances that go into, any kind of marketing, well, that's how it can really help.
Yeah. We were working on a deadline policy for our clients. I'm sure your clients never miss their deadlines.
Yeah.
We've experienced it one or two times. And so we were creating a deadline policy. And another thing that a lot of folks don't know is you can tell ChatGPT that use the Element 47 website as an example of voice and tone, and write for me a deadline policy. I mean, it did 95% of the work.
Yeah.
It came up with ideas I never would have had, but it spoke in the same language that we speak in. And it just vastly accelerated what we needed to say. It made it better.
Yeah, and it's, like I say, they still need human editors and stuff, to double check the way things were written and stuff, and doesn't meet the, it's especially good at, like I say, you set a deadline policy. Yeah, it's especially good at that kind of language and stuff, because it can be more robotic anyway. Like I say, it's, it's in your tone, but even if it misses the mark a little bit, it's okay, because that type of stuff, it's not as big a deal, anyway. But I'll tell you what, nobody likes to write legalese.
Yeah, well, and it gave justifications that, frankly, I knew and understood, but I just in that moment I didn't think of, and so it made life easier for me.
Yep, I've had to do similar kinds of projects for me myself. Like I say, as the business owner, I might want certain things when I'm dealing with someone else, and it's made that a lot easier and stuff. Maybe one day it'll put all the lawyers out of work. That'd be great.
Yeah, and you've probably heard the story about the lawyer who tried to use ChatGPT to write a brief, and it referenced law or cases that never existed, and the judge didn't take kindly to that.
And then the lawyer didn't double check it. Yeah.
No, he didn't. He was running out of time, and unfortunately for him, he got caught. So check your work out there, folks.
Yeah, like I say, it doesn't, there's not a substitute there. You do need to double check the things that are going over. Like I say, it's a great assistant, and it's meant to be used, for those types of things that we've discussed today. Yeah. Erick, this has been great. How would people get a hold of you if they, wanted your help?
Yeah, I would encourage them to go to element47.co. There is an element47.com. I can't recommend going there. It is a lady who wrote a book about collecting silver, which silver is Element 47. It's not why we named it that, but element47.co, and you can reach out to us in a variety of different ways from there.
That's great. So this is another great episode. My name's Cash Miller. I'm the host of Marketing Masters, CEO of Titan Digital. We've been talking about the ways you can use AI really to just incorporate into your business, and the strategies and the things that it can do if you're willing to embrace it, say as an assistant and such. This thing, it can really make a difference in your business. You definitely, if you're not already on it, and a lot of business owners are still not, looking at it from a day-to-day standpoint, they need to, so we highly encourage it. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.